The Iron Bowl is complete, and the Auburn Tigers have completed 2 of that 3-stretch hurdle that we talked about a few weeks ago in defeating then number 1 Georgia, now number 1 Alabama in the Iron Bowl. Tigers win at 26-14. We bring in Stephen M. Smith for some instant analysis. Stephen joins us from his show, The Way It Is, on Fox 97.9, weekdays 2 to 4 Central Time. You can also join him on Touchdown Alabama. All right, Stephen, what was the difference in your eyes in this game between Auburn and Alabama?
Well, number one, the play calling of Brian Dable, for the most part, just wasn't where it needed to be at Alabama in one particular possession. You remember when the Tide went up 14-10 in the third quarter, went to the run game. You saw Damian Harris get loose. Bo Scarborough getting loose a couple of times, including a touchdown to put the Tide up 14-10. And, Alabama did not trust the run Harris, Bo Scarborough, Josh Jacobs the way it needed to. Give Auburn's defensive front a lot of credit for frustrating the Alabama offensive line. Marlon Davidson, Dontavius Russell, Jeff Holland, Big Derek Brown, Deshaun Davis, those guys in the backfield every single time. Alabama having a difficult time blocking those guys, difficult time keeping Jalen Hurts protected in the pocket. He was flushed out more times than not. But then also, third down has been an issue for Alabama all season, whether it's converting third downs on offense, getting off the field, third down on defense. Finished 9 of 14. I think Auburn finished like 9 of 16 on third down, if I'm not mistaken. Did a great job converting on third down, as opposed to Alabama, only 1 or 2 third downs on probably 8 to 9, 10 attempts. So the Crimson Tide, not the best day at all for this football team on third down. It not what it needed to be at. Calvin Ridley missed a catch on a 3rd and 4 that would have been huge if he completes the reception. Kerryon Johnson over 100 yards rushing today, and you got to take your cap off to Jarrett Stidham. I mean, here's a kid that, over the summer was just leaving Baylor after a serious sexual scandal that went on at Baylor, had to leave Baylor, leave Art Browse, leave the program, go the JUCO route, and then to end up at Auburn and to play the way he played tonight, 21 of 28 passing, getting the ball out of his hands quick, really keeping that Alabama defensive front off balance. Gus Malzahn, for all that people like to say he's inconsistent, he wins games and he loses games. Gus Malzahn's on the hot seat. For all the talk and conversation about Gus Malzahn, when his job is on the line, he always delivers. And you can't take that from him. When his job is on the line, when people are always questioning, should he be fired? Should he be let go? Why is he not doing what he needs to do? Whenever the heat is on, you see Gus Malzahn truly shine. It happens time and time and time again. And once again, a situation where the Gus bus patches up a tire, puts some new rims on the vehicle, and finds a way to work. And throwing the entire kitchen sink at Alabama, he and Chip Lindsey going with tempo, short passes, plays to the outside, attacking the perimeter, doing everything it could to dictate Alabama's defense, and Auburn did it today.
Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama, also Fox 97.9, joining us to break down the Iron Bowl. If you're watching live, that's tremendous with instant analysis that we have covering the big games in college football each and every weekend, or watching the recorded session. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel here at MarkRogersTV. Stephen, let me take you through some key sequences in the game, get your thoughts on what went wrong, what happened. Of course, Ryan Davis had the flea flicker play that really broke open, that led to the Jarrett Stidham scramble for the touchdown to make it 26-14 in the fourth quarter. Then right after that, Alabama trying to respond, made some progress, got past midfield. Then they had the 2 consecutive botched snaps from Bradley Brosman. Your thoughts about what in the world happened there? There was some thought that Bo Scarborough was clapping his hands, and that messed up the second attempt, but there were 2 consecutive snaps that killed the Alabama drive.
There were, and you mentioned it, Mark. Alabama gets past midfield. They're going out of the shotgun formation, and Bradley Bozeman, and both times this happened, Bo Scarborough went down, taps Bradley Bozeman, taps Rosh Pierschbaker, letting them both know he's on this play. And with Jalen Hurts, he likes to clap to signal he's ready for the ball, as well as lift his feet or lift his foot, his leg up and down. Bo Scarborough makes the clap after tapping both Bradley Bozeman and Rosh Pierschbaker on the play. Scarborough claps. Bozeman believes that it's Jalen Hurts, not knowing that Jalen Hurts still has his hands on his hips. He's not anticipating the snap, and Bozeman snaps the ball twice, thinking that it's Jalen ready for it, but it's Bo Scarborough clapping football. So just some miscommunication on both plays. You can credit that also to the crowd noise at Jordan Hare. Those fans were loud, very, very loud to hear down there. When you talk about a rivalry game, so much on the line, so much at stake, so much in the cards, you want to have everything crisp, you want to have everything in order. And for, Bozeman and Pierschbaker, but in this case, Bozeman, who's the center, your senior, coming out of Roanoke High School, Hanley High School, Roanoke, Alabama, he does not sense that it's Bo Scarborough clapping for the ball instead of Jalen Hurts. Hurts not ready for it. Ball is snapped twice. Hurts can't control it. And I mean, not just those 2 plays, Mark. You go back to Alabama was down 20-14, has a chance for a field goal. The snap is good, and J.K. Scott bobbles the hold. J.K. Scott, who's very reliable, usually right there on key, another senior from Denver, Colorado, guy that's up for the Ray Guy Award. Now, normally Alabama, under Nick Saban, has the backup quarterback holding the ball on the field goals. Not sure why J.K. Scott was holding it there. At times, J.K. Scott and Tua Tagovailoa have been switching in and out to hold on the field goals. J.K. Scott in at that moment. Snap was good from Bozeman. The snap was good from Bozeman. The hold was bobbled by J.K. Scott, and you can't have those types of plays. You got to be sound effectively in whatever you're doing. And along with the 2 botched snaps in the fourth quarter, that play from J.K. Scott where he does not fully secure the snap, costly.
Yeah, it was definitely a 1-score game at that point late in the third quarter, and that cost Alabama a field goal. That came after the Carlton Davis pass interference on Calvin Ridley, and Alabama had something going in the red zone. I'm going to take you earlier in the third quarter. Bama comes out trailing 10-7 after the Daniel Carlson field goal to close out the first half. And it was almost reminiscent of the Washington playoff game last year. That game in particular, but down this stretch for 2016, Bo Scarborough got 2 consecutive handoffs to the left side. On the first play, the blocking was perfect. There were still some defenders in his way. He just plowed by them for a big run. Next play, they go to the exact same sweep play on the left side, and it was blocked to perfection. Nobody touched him. Scarborough goes in for the touchdown. Tide led 14-10. I expected to see a little bit more of that throughout the second half. And I know that Alabama didn't have the ball much, but 2 consecutive plays that were reminiscent again of the playoff drive last year. And Scarborough only had 6 carries for 46 yards on the day.
Very, very perplexing, Mark. I go back to, again, the play calling, Brian Dable off, just very off, running Jalen a lot. And I understand Jalen elusive, Jalen good feet, Jalen Hurts athletic, but when you have Damian Harris, Bo Scarborough, Josh Jacobs, you got to get them the ball. You got to feature those guys and rotate those guys. In the first half, I think Jalen Hurts was the leading rusher on the team in the first half of 7 carries for, I believe, roughly 40 yards. You've got to get your other guys involved. Nick Saban has talked about this whole season. Want to establish Josh Jacobs, want to get Jacobs involved, but you can't get Jacobs involved if the play calling is not geared toward him. You can't get Bo Scarborough. You can't get Damian Harris involved if the play calling is not going through those guys. And I understand you want to attack Auburn's defense on the perimeter, get some runs to the outside, a lot of quick plays. But at the same time, when your bread and butter is being able to run in between the tackles, set your run game, allow your offensive line to flex muscle a bit, you've got to do that. And Alabama did not allow really Jalen Hurts to get truly settled into the game because of you could not establish the run the way you wanted to. Auburn did not play a lot of 8- and 9-man front like LSU did during the 1st of November. So just very odd play calling from Brian Dable out for the Crimson Tide the way this team would have liked it to.
And a ton of plays ran by the Auburn Tigers. I think the final count was 78-61, but that was with Alabama holding the ball that final drive for a number of plays. And before that, at one point, it was 62 to 34, 62 to 34 plays run for the Auburn Tigers over Alabama. Tide falls 26-14. We want to give the Auburn perspective as much as possible as well. I've got a number of Auburn fans, I'm sure, on the line watching live, and also we'll watch the record. And, of course, they march on to the championship game with one more hurdle to clear to get to the college football playoff. Despite the 2 earlier losses, they've got the Georgia Bulldogs right in front of them. A sequence there in the second half, late in the game, in which they were trying to nurse that lead, and Kerryon Johnson came up lame. And then Cam Martin comes up lame after ripping off a 9 or 10-yard run. He had to leave the game. So hopefully those 2 players ready to go. So Auburn's not going 3 deep on the depth chart with Cam Petway already on the sideline at the running back position and taking on the Georgia Bulldogs, who defeated Georgia Tech today. Just your final impressions about this Auburn team as they prepare for the SEC championship game against the Bulldogs.
Well, first and foremost, Mark, Tiger fans clutching their breath, you hope, you want, you pray to have Kerryon Johnson on that field. His patience, his ability, his speed, his power, the way he's able to pick and choose which hole he's going to attack, the jump cut ability, you hope for Kerryon. It's not anything serious where that left shoulder is concerned. Cam Martin, I didn't quite see what he had injured there or pulled there or hurt there, but you want both guys healthy going into the next week matchup, especially Kerryon Johnson. This is your workhorse. This is your guy that you've depended on all year long, and especially with Cam Petway out for the year, especially at this time, you want Kerryon Johnson healthy. You want that man out there on the field. But my final thoughts for Auburn in this offense, once again, Mark, Gus Malzahn just finds a way to win. I mean, say what you want to about him, whether you like his coaching style, whether you don't like his coaching style. I know at times it can look like a high school offense, but when you win, you win. And winning cures a lot of things. When you win at the right time, find ways to win. No matter what happens, you find a way to win. And there are not too many coaches out there in college football that have beaten a Nick Saban coach Alabama team. And Gus Malzahn's done it 3 times. He's done it twice as a coach and once as an offensive coordinator. Did it in 2010 as an offensive coordinator at Auburn with Cam Newton. Did it in 2013 as a head coach, beating Alabama and Jordan Hare 34-28, and has beaten Nick Saban again. Not too many guys can say that on a resume. Gus Malzahn can say that.
Following a career as a part-time starter at Baylor, Jarrett Stidham talked after the game about sitting on his couch back in Texas, watching the Iron Bowl last year and just having dreams and wishes about possibly playing in this game and understanding that this is about as good as it can possibly get in college football to play in this rivalry, in this atmosphere with everything on the line, these two storied programs in this storied game. And 1 year later, he gets his opportunity and he cashes in big time. 21 of 28, 237 yards, hit Ryan Davis 11 times for 139 yards. The Auburn Tigers certainly look like one of college football's top 4 teams right now, the way they're playing. Hopefully they've got Kerryon Johnson, as Stephen outlined, ready for the Georgia Bulldogs next week. Auburn with that tremendous pass rush, Jeff Holland and company, and that amazing tackle combination, defensive front, ready for Georgia to bring on the run again. They shut him down the first time. Sony Michel, Nick Chubb, and company were no match in gaining about 40 yards rushing against this Auburn front just a few weeks ago. But it will be a much different atmosphere in Atlanta versus being on the friendly confines of the plains of Jordan-Hare Stadium. And we know what rematches typically bring us, and certainly for the team that's got the revenge factor, and also with a Kirby Smart and company game planning for Auburn in a much different way, considering the challenges that they faced in the first meeting. It should be quite interesting, and Stephen and I will talk about it hopefully this week. Auburn, Georgia for all the marbles in the SEC, and Alabama. You can address this before we let you go, Stephen, with the one loss, but it coming against one of the best teams in the country, considering what's going on elsewhere. I would think that if a 2-loss champion emerges both in the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, with Ohio State possibly winning there, that the door is still open for Alabama. Again, with if there is such a thing as a good loss, this would certainly characterize and be categorized as one, losing at Auburn, that Alabama still has an open path possibly to be selected for the Final Four.
Possibly, but then also, Mark, you have to look at if Cam Sims was to have scored on that final play of the game for Alabama, then the score is 26-21 in favor of Auburn. It's a 5-point loss versus a 12-point loss. So that would also cause the committee to really truly think, okay, they scored at the end. It's 26-21. It's just about in the line of the spread, even though the spread was given toward Alabama at 4.5. So the committee would think that. But with it being a 12-point loss, Auburn winning this game by double digits, it's very, very difficult right now. Crimson Tide fans holding their breath that maybe, possibly there's a way, possibly there's a hope, possibly there's a thought from Kirby Holcott, Bill Hancock, and that college football playoff committee. But right now, you're on the outside looking in.
This committee is supposed to be watching all the key games in condensed form. So if that non-score by Alabama in getting thrown down for the final play of the game at the 5-yard line versus scoring and making it a 5-point game, if that factors at all in the decision process of this committee, then there is something terribly wrong in evaluating these football teams.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Mark, the point, it's a very good point, Stephen, because it was brought up during the broadcast. So I'm not saying it's not a valid point by you. I'm saying that if the committee judges and evaluates the performance of this team versus Auburn differently just because a garbage touchdown could have been scored, then we have serious problems with this committee.
True.
That's what I'm saying. All right, we will have Auburn and Georgia tee it up for the SEC championship next week. Alabama will sit at home and wait for the committee's decision on Sunday. They certainly have better than a puncher's chance based on what happened last year, as a one-loss non-champion in Ohio State was selected. So there has been precedent set over a 2-loss champion being ushered into the college football playoff. All right, Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. Please join him on his show, The Way It Is, Fox 97.9. You can download the app and join us as we talk Alabama football, the SEC, and the nation, Stephen and myself, each and every week. Stephen, we appreciate you coming on.
No problem, Mark. Thank you.